Hi, I'm Dr. Stan Steindl. Welcome back to Compassion in a T-shirt, where we explore the science and practice of compassion and how it can truly transform lives. Today, we're diving into a topic that most of us have experienced at some point in our lives: healing after a broken relationship. Whether it's the end of a romantic partnership, a friendship that's gone awry, or even a rift within a family, the pain of a broken relationship can cut deep. But there's hope. Compassion, both for ourselves and others, can play a profound role in the healing process. So grab a cuppa, get comfy, and let's explore this together. When a relationship breaks down, it's like a storm sweeping through your emotional world. There's anger. How could they do this to me? There's sadness. Why did it have to end? And then there's fear. What if I'm alone forever? These emotions, while painful, are a normal part of the process. You're human, after all, and our relationships mean a lot to us. Losing a relationship is difficult, possibly one of the most difficult experiences us humans have to endure. In compassion-focused therapy, we often talk about the three emotion regulation systems: the threat system, the drive system, and the soothing system. During a breakup, the threat system tends to go into overdrive. You're scanning for the danger, ruminating on what went wrong, and feeling those waves of emotional pain. At the same time, your soothing system, which is activated by closeness, connection with others, and a sense of belonging, becomes inhibited and out of reach when a relationship breaks down. The relational loss compromises the soothing system, making it difficult to access the feelings of safeness, calmness, and reassurance it typically provides, and that you most desperately need. But here's the good news. You can rebalance these systems. When the threat system is roaring, try grounding techniques like focusing on your breath or naming 5 things you can see around you. We want to try to down-regulate the sympathetic nervous system, bringing it back to the body and return to strength and stability, groundness and calm. And to activate the soothing system, consider a simple self-soothing gesture like placing a hand on your heart and saying, "This is tough, but I'm here for myself." Let's take a moment to unpack the difference between love and compassion, especially when it comes to healing after a breakup. Love involves deep emotional intimacy, where you feel a strong bond and connection with the other person. You genuinely care for their well-being and happiness. It can be filled with ups and downs, and it can take many forms. Love might be the deep affection we feel for a romantic partner, the protective care for our children, the delight we feel in the company of good friends, or even the fondness we have for a beloved pet. And sometimes we might even feel love for inanimate things, like your golf clubs or sewing machine, because of the meaning they hold for us. It's a connection that brings joy and a sense of closeness, but it's also selective. We don't tend to love everyone we meet or everyone we know, let alone strangers or people who are distant or different. Another thing about love is that it can be influenced by our experiences throughout life of being cared for, looked after, and loved, or not. These experiences shape our attachment styles, which influence how we connect with others and, importantly, how we respond to relational loss. When attachment is secure, we may face breakups with more resilience, able to draw on a sense of inner stability and trust that we can heal and move forward. However, for those who've had difficult attachment histories and feel insecure and anxious in relationships, breakups can feel particularly overwhelming. Anxious and avoidant parts might get activated, leading to heightened distress, feelings of abandonment, and an intense focus on regaining the relationship. Or, on the other hand, emotional withdrawal, a tendency to suppress feelings or a reluctance to seek support. Reflecting on your attachment style can be an important step in understanding how you respond to relational challenges. Here are 3 questions to consider. When a relationship ends, do you find yourself clinging to the hope of reconciliation, or do you tend to shut down and avoid processing your feelings? How comfortable are you seeking emotional support from others during difficult times? Do you notice patterns in your relationships, such as fearing rejection or struggling to trust others? And how do these patterns affect your healing process? But all of this is distinct from compassion. Compassion, on the other hand, is a motivation. Compassion involves first being sensitive to distress and needs or suffering, whether it's your own or someone else's, and with a deep understanding. But second, compassion includes being able to think through and determine the helpful action you take to try to alleviate that suffering. So, being able to detect and comprehend pain and suffering, and then thoughtfully working out what can be done to bring comfort and relief. A key aspect of compassion is that it doesn't require you to like or love the person towards whom you're being compassionate. Compassion is about being sensitive to suffering and motivated to help regardless of how you might feel about the other person. This extends even to people you may not know, those you dislike, or even your enemies. They are still worthy of compassion. The same principle applies inwardly. When it comes to self-compassion, you don't need to like or love every part of yourself to extend compassion to those parts. In fact, some of the most important self-compassion practices involve bringing kindness to the parts of yourself that you feel ashamed of, critical towards, or even hate. By turning compassion inward to these difficult parts of ourselves, we create space for healing, understanding, and growth. Here's a helpful way to think about it. Love and compassion can certainly walk side by side. In a relationship, we may very well experience both for that other person. But compassion truly comes into its own when navigating the end of the relationship. It's what allows you to be kind to yourself when you're lying awake in the middle of the night, distraught and wondering what went wrong. Or to find empathy and forgiveness for the other person, even if they've hurt you. One practical tip here is to imagine how you might respond to a friend. Imagine receiving a late-night phone call from a dear friend whose relationship has recently ended. They're distraught, lying awake, wondering what went wrong, and being incredibly hard on themselves, blaming themselves for the breakup. How would you feel hearing this from your friend? Would you feel moved by their pain, a sense of concern for their well-being, and a desire to help them? What might you do to offer support? Perhaps you'd reassure them, listen with care, or remind them of their worth and the good they bring to the world. The idea is turn that same compassion inwards. The essence of compassion is being sensitive and tuned into distress and allowing that to motivate helpful action. You can extend that same compassion to yourself, especially in those moments when you are awake in the middle of the night, replaying conversations and feeling at your most vulnerable. By doing so, you're practicing what it means to care for your own suffering with the same wisdom, strength, and helpfulness you'd show a loved one. Often, we find it easier to be kind to others than to ourselves, but this exercise helps bridge the gap. Now, let's talk some more about self-compassion. When a relationship ends, it's easy to fall into the trap of self-blame and self-criticism. If only I'd been a better partner, or why am I so unlovable? These thoughts can be relentless, but what if instead you practiced self-compassion? Self-compassion involves developing sensitivity to your own suffering and a deep commitment to alleviating it with wisdom, strength, and kindness. This means recognizing when you're in pain, understanding it without judgment, and taking helpful steps to care for yourself. Rather than getting overwhelmed by self-criticism or avoiding the pain, self-compassion is about creating an inner environment where healing and growth are possible through intentional and caring actions. Here's a practical exercise. When you notice those self-critical thoughts creeping in, pause and take a breath. Then say to yourself, this is a moment of suffering. I can see and feel the pain I'm experiencing right now, and it's valid. Struggles like this are part of the human experience, and I'm not alone in facing them. What can I do right now to care for myself with wisdom, strength, courage, and kindness? It might feel awkward at first, but over time, this practice can become a powerful source of comfort. One of the trickiest parts of healing is navigating your interactions with the other person. Do you cut them off completely? Do you try to stay friends? Do you send them a late night text after one too many glasses of wine? Spoiler, that last one rarely ends well. Compassionate assertiveness is key here. It's about expressing your needs and setting boundaries in a way that's kind but firm. For example, you might say, I care about you, but I need some space right now to focus on my own healing. Or, I'm not ready to have this conversation yet, but I'll let you know when I am. Boundaries aren't just about the other person. They're about you too. Be mindful of your own behaviours and choices. If you know that scrolling through their Instagram will only make you feel worse, set a boundary with yourself and delete the app for a while. Quite often, urges to reconnect, talk, understand the other person, express your own thoughts and feelings, meet up, and so on, are coming from a more insecure place, sometimes a very young place within you. This might be the part of you that, as a child, felt vulnerable, alone, and uncertain about whether your needs for closeness and safety would be met. These attachment-related tendencies can activate anxious and avoidant responses, making it harder to navigate the breakup with balance and care. Recognizing these patterns with compassion is key. They reflect the way you've learned to protect yourself emotionally, even if they're no longer serving you well now. Compassionate boundaries protect your heart while you heal. Forgiveness. It's a big one, isn't it? But let's clear something up. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning the other person's actions or pretending everything's okay. Instead, forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. For example, imagine someone you trusted deeply betrayed you. It's natural to feel anger and pain, but holding on to those feelings can weigh heavily over time. Forgiveness in this case is not about excusing their behaviour, but about choosing to release the emotional grip it has on you. It's a way of saying, I acknowledge what happened, and I choose to move forward without carrying this pain any longer. In compassion-focused therapy, we often talk about the attributes of compassion: wisdom, strength, courage, and commitment. Forgiveness requires all of these. Wisdom to understand the situation for what it is, strength to face your emotions, courage to let go of anger, and commitment to your own healing. A practical way to begin the process of forgiveness is through guided imagery. Start by finding a quiet space where you can sit comfortably and close your eyes. Imagine yourself holding a heavy bag. This bag represents all the anger, resentment, and pain you've been carrying. Take a moment to really feel the weight of the bag. Notice how it pulls on your shoulders, your arms, your whole body. Now picture yourself gently setting that bag down in front of you. As you do this, imagine the weight lifting from your body. See the bag resting on the ground, no longer something you have to carry. And next, take a deep breath and step away from the bag, allowing yourself to feel lighter and freer with each step. If it helps, you can imagine a peaceful setting around you, like a calm meadow or a quiet beach, symbolizing the emotional relief of letting go. Notice how it feels to walk away from the burden. How does your body feel now? Do you sense any relief, even if it's just a little? If the bag still feels nearby or heavy, that's okay. Forgiveness is a process, and every step forward counts. You can return to this exercise whenever you feel weighed down, gently reminding yourself of the possibility to release the emotional load you've been carrying. Finally, let's talk about moving forward. Healing after a broken relationship isn't about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. In fact, we want to honour the relationship and the experience of it, and the fact that losing it does hurt. There's loss and grief, and that's completely valid. The relationship was significant and represented an important part of your life. Perhaps there were good bits and not so good bits. And now that it's come to an end, you can try your best to honour that ending too. It's now time to find solid ground again and building a new sense of self. Reconnect with activities and people that bring you joy. Spend time in nature, pick up a hobby you've always wanted to try, or reach out to a friend you haven't seen in a while. The idea is, let's rebuild your soothing system. Let's reclaim that sense of safeness, and let's remember that life goes on and it can still be beautiful. Also, take time for self-reflection. What have you learned from this experience? How have you grown? What qualities have emerged in you that you didn't even know you had? This isn't about turning heartbreak into a self-improvement project, but about recognizing the resilience and strength within you. So there you have it. The role of compassion in healing broken relationships. We've covered the emotional whirlwind of a breakup, the differences between love and compassion, and the importance of self-compassion, boundaries, and forgiveness. And most importantly, we've explored how compassion for yourself and others can help you find your way back to solid ground. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who might need a little compassion in their life. And subscribe to Compassion in a T-shirt for more explorations of the science and practice of compassion. And remember, you're not alone. You are worthy of love and kindness, especially from yourself. Take care, and I'll see you next time.